This is a fun ride, but like there are many things that are going really well with it. So like Gorn's story right at the start, where they're showing the passage of time and the reasoning about him and his daughter, obviously, and the gods, like the betrayal of the gods right at the start, and the reason why Gorn has obviously forsaken his god and how he gets the Necron's sword. That was a really cool setup, and it really set up Gorn sort of towards him being that main villain. But they could have fleshed it out a little bit more. He's not really in the film that much. He's in for about 5 scenes, but every scene he just demands that presence, where like he's the perfect blend of that sinister and the danger that you want, where some of his lines are actually kind of comical, but his delivery is like really shocking. Like when he's taunting the kids in the jail and he like rips off the head of one of the ostriches and pretends to be a puppet. Like that's the kind of blend of the serious tone that you need, where you can still have that fun that they're sort of trying to go throughout. There are many things that are going on, like Thor just comes in, but he feels, I like his return to form, where it is a really comical part for the first half of the film, but they just really try and force the comedy. Like everyone is trying to audition for stand-up and they're trying to get their reels, and it's just a really messy blend of this a little bit of action and just all these jokes just being dropped here and there, like everywhere. And it's just really off the mess right at the start, where like Thor's going in and he's being called back by the Guardians of the Galaxy, and he's doing his like montage from when he got fat in the in Endgame, where he sort of gave up, and it's him getting back into shape and he's getting called back into action, and just he's doing the Jean-Claude Van Damme split on like the, what are they called, like the jet speeders of the hours or whatever they were. They never really explained exactly what they were, but he's doing it, and it's just really forcing those comical moments. The CGI is a bit weird right at the start. It does get better later towards the film, especially when they go on to Gorn's planet and it's the black and white and the colour all meshing in. But yeah, it's just, Gorn really steals the show, where like I wish there was more of him in there, and his tone actually brought the comical aspect that they were really trying to force down, which then had that balance that Ragnarok had. And when Jane actually does become like Mighty Thor, where she like pieces back together the hammer, and the hammer actually then splits apart and then reforms, like that was a really cool touch. I like the continuity of it, and I really liked her as Thor. Like that was cool. I like the contrast between them, and the sensitive Thor that they're trying to go for, and the re-establishing of the Jane and Thor relationship felt forced at the beginning, and they're always trying to up each other in the jokes. But when they did get into that emotional connection, where they were actually on the ride ship that they've sort of commandeered with the screaming goats, and God, the screaming goats just got tired so quickly. Like they were funny right at the start, but they just keep going with that same joke over and over. But they just need to can that once they sort of establish that joke. And yeah, it took away from the moment that Jane and Thor were having, where I wanted that serious tone. They needed that serious tone. Like Ragnarok had the serious tone, but it also blended in the comedy. It wasn't just that forced comedy that was happening. When Thor gets the army of children and gives them the powers, like that's the kind of comedy that they need, where he's like the coolness, but also that sort of visual comedy, where that's where they could have blended that in better. And that was probably one of the best scenes. And when Jane and Thor are actually fighting Gorn, and they've got to break the sword, like all of that, it was so stylish. The cinematography is great. Besides the starting CGI where it goes a little bit wonky, everything else is pretty good. If they didn't force the joke so heavily for the first half of the film, this would have been a much better ride. Like it is really good, but it doesn't reach that level that you want, and it didn't quite live up to the hype. Rather, it's more of a awkward, chaotic mess of just one-liners until the later half of the film, where it actually really got good in that serious tone. But Gorn is fantastic. Like Christian Bale's performance is completely outstanding. Like I got no sort of problems with his performance at all. Like he stole the show. That's what the focus should have been. It was fantastic. Zeus was underwhelming. I really thought he would be more of a presence. Like he's got the intro, and it's just, come on, Zeus is meant to be like the all power, the mighty god, but he didn't give that off. He just sort of was in there and had his lightning bolt and sort of helped to progress the story. Where the end credit, they are going to bring the Greek gods in there. You can see like Zeus has got the lightning bolt in his chest and he's a little bit upset about it, and you get that post-credit scene where he's talking to his son Hercules. That's going to be pretty cool, but Hercules is obviously going to have a little bit of a grudge with Thor. That's going to be a cool little battle as well. Where I like now they're starting to blend it in, and like Gorn's actual performance in terms of his story, like that was cool, like the blending, and then right at the end where he actually has drawn Thor out to be able to get his wish, where after Jane has actually died, I like how his sort of whole quest and questions has sort of changed, and he wishes for the reincarnation of his daughter. And I liked how Thor has now got his family and off they go. They're doing their hero thing, tandem up across the world. Where it was a fun ride, but besides the really forced half of the film, it was just brought that mark down. So instead of like 4 screaming goats, it is only 3 screaming goats, but I did really enjoy the last probably third of the film as soon as they go into Gorn's world and start having that black and white blend of the fight scene. That was so stylish, so slick. Really enjoyed that part, and I wish that's what they sort of kept up the whole entire time. But they didn't, so here we are. So let me know what you thought about it, and if you're excited for the next one and you're not too, make sure you like, comment, subscribe, and tell your friends.